Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask an Assistant, the podcast for executive assistants and the people that love us. I'm your host, Jess Lindgren, and I have a quick programming note for you here at the top of the episode. At the time of recording and release on April 21st, 2026, tomorrow, April 22nd, 2026, is Administrative Professionals Day, and I will be speaking at the Leader Assistant Live Admin Day event. You can visit leaderassistantlive.com, which is linked in the show notes, to register. I hope I'll see you there, and all that being said, let's get to work. This week's question comes from Esteemed Colleague Julia, who wrote in via askanassistant.com with the following question: how do I write a good calendar invite title? Julia, short, sweet, to the point. You know I love it. I don't know about the rest of you, but I personally interface with a lot of internal and external people on any given workday. It is, I don't even know if shocking is the right word. It is absurd to me how many of those people have similar names. One quite small team that I work on has 2 Dans and a Daniela, several Chris's, and 2 ladies named Jessica, both of whom go by Jess, of which I am one. In our direct routine correspondence orbit, there are no fewer than 6 dudes named Matt, all of whom are Matthew and go by Matt, and at least 4 Daves. When calendaring, we have to be specific or it gets confusing fast. When you are looking to write a good calendar invite title, I always turn to the trusty who, what, when, where, why of it all. So at a surface level, the who's involved, who needs to be on the invite, right? What, is it virtual or in person? When? We need a date and a time, the correct time zone, and how much total time is needed. Where? Is it going to be in our Zoom room, your podcast recording software, a coffee shop, a phone call? Where are we going to meet? And why? Why are we taking time to get folks into a room or on a call? Diving a little bit deeper, like if that's all you needed is just a little refresher of the who, what, when, where, why of it all, you've got it. Go forth, write your calendar topics, your calendar subject lines. But diving a little deeper, who? Which Dave? If you just say in the calendar subject line, Dave and Jess, nobody's going to know what's going on Dave's end or Jess's end. If you say Dave from General Mills with Jess Lindgren, or if the calendar invite is coming from Dave's end, it might say Dave with Jess Lindgren from Gal Friday 612. That tells exactly both parties, like exactly who's going to be in the room. It also even gives you a little bit of context, spoiler alert, for a little bit further down the line of like what you're going to talk about. Because we know that we talk about different things with Dave from General Mills versus Dave from our accountant, Dave from Ford, like whatever companies it is that we interface with a Dave from, like knowing which company they're from also gives you a little bit of context for further down the line in the who, what, when, where, why of it all. No more guessing which Dave, which Jess, be specific, last names, company name, get it in there. For the what? For my executive, meetings from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific are usually virtual, and I have carte blanche to schedule whatever I see fit inside of those times. But in-person meetings are cropping up more and more often, which then involves winding down virtual meetings and allowing for San Diego drive time to be factored in for the in-person stuff, which absolutely bleeds into the when of it all. When we're talking about the when, if this is in person, depending on the time of day, we won't send my executive to certain parts of the city since San Diego traffic can be so unpredictable. Like I personally live in Syracuse, New York. I tried to go to something yesterday at 5 o'clock. I could not believe how much traffic I ran into and how many red lights I hit. Should have been like a 12-minute drive, turned into more like 18. It was unreal. And that's in upstate New York. If you live in a bigger city, if you're in New York, San Diego, Los Angeles, even Minneapolis, like some bigger cities, Dallas, oh my gosh, you have to factor in drive time. And you also have to then wind down all of your virtual stuff, right? Like some things my executive can take in the car in transit, but some things he needs to be at his desk. He needs to be in a position to log into other services or whatever. Like the other day we had our one-on-one and I needed him to log into something that he can't do on his phone. So yeah, it's different calculus when you're calculating in drive time. Also, when you are booking something, get the total time that is needed. We typically offer 15, 30, 45, or 60 minutes. Anything above and beyond that, it's got to be a real special reason to go past an hour. And no, my executive cannot join, quote, just 15 minutes early when you and I scheduled this 2 months ago and you're asking me for that extra 15 the same morning. Like I need the total amount of time up front so we can reverse engineer a date from there. And be honest, like when you are offering time, when you're trying to get something scheduled and you're asking how much time is needed, be honest, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Excuse me. You're not going to hurt my feelings when you say you need 75 or 90 minutes. Hopefully I don't hurt your feelings when I tell you no. But the earlier you ask, the better the chances are that we can give you exactly what you need, including those extra 15 minutes. Where? Is it my Zoom room? Is it your podcast recording software? Is it a good old-fashioned telephone call? Or is it the address of the coffee shop that you want to meet at? Be specific. Like I personally just took a call last week where I asked the person to call me on my cell phone. And I said, Jennifer to call Jess at XYZ phone number at the time of the call. And they even commented on it when we hopped on the line. They're just like, wow, I haven't called anyone on the phone in ages. I personally knew I was going to be away from my computer at that time and I could absolutely take it by phone. But like being specific about the where of where you're going to meet. When someone says, oh, I want to meet at the Starbucks by the Target, you know that someone is going to end up at the Starbucks in the Target and the other party is going to end up at the Starbucks that's kind of by the Target, but not really. Give me an address, whether it's virtual or in person, be specific, and let's make sure that we all end up exactly where we need to be. And why? Give me an agenda. Like I personally famously have very low tolerance for any meeting that could have been an email, and my executive doesn't have time for meetings that could have been an email. If there is an actual need to get my executive in the room, I'll do it. But if it's something that I can help you with and save my executive 15 to 30 minutes, I mean, that's like a lot. That's a big part of my job, right? You can refer to the show notes for a sample calendar invite that you can copy paste and tweak to your needs. I'm going to read it here, but I will be honest with you. I really feel that it is far more easily digested by your eyeballs. So sample here, the who, what, when, where, why, who. Dave from Accountant with Pat Flynn. What? A 30-minute meeting. When? Wednesday, April 22nd from 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Pacific. Where? Dave's Zoom room. Dial in details in notes. Why? Discussing the current tax year. That's really all it needs to be, right? Like there's room, whether it's, okay, I'm going to guess on Outlook because I personally haven't had to touch Outlook in over a decade and I'm sure things have changed. But I do think it's pretty similar to Google Calendar. There's room right at the top for the subject line. There's little toggles right inside when you're scheduling stuff for selecting the date, selecting the time, selecting the duration. Like you can even go into Google Calendar and say, I want all my meetings to default to 30 minutes. I think there's even like a fast minute setting where you can set things to be 25 instead of 30 or 50 or 55 instead of 60. And then all of your default calendar invites get sent out to those preferences. And then you can also toggle, like my executive's got some travel coming up, right? So when he's taking meetings and he's on the road, I can set the meeting, even though I scheduled it in Pacific, I can set it to Mountain Time, Central Time, Eastern Time, European Time, wherever it is that he's going to be, I can set those time zones and make sure that they line up and that I'm not scheduling him something for the middle of the night or when he's going to be on an airplane, right? And then there's also room for a location. We have found that the location, like I used to put the Zoom link in the location field in Google Calendar, and my executive actually had an issue a couple times where it would open in Maps instead of Zoom. So I have started putting Pat's Zoom room C notes in the location field. And then I put all of the Zoom information. So like the link, the phone number, like the one touch dial in links, that kind of stuff. The little Zoom invite just goes right into the notes of the calendar appointment. And so again, haven't touched Outlook in over a decade. I'm hoping that there's a very similar feature, but that's all it needs to be, the who, what, when, where, why of it all, right? Boom, you're done. It succinctly covers everything that you need to cover and makes it make sense for everyone involved. Caveat, the subject line is going to vary a little bit depending on who is sending the calendar invite. Like, I personally prefer to get things on the calendar and send way more invites than perhaps you, my esteemed colleague, would. But I like checking things off my to-do list. I like making sure that they're on the calendar. They haven't slipped through the cracks. You can refer to Ask an Assistant episode 94 for a deeper dive on my thoughts on that. And that is all for this week. Julia, I hope that my thoughts were helpful and that you'll be off to the races writing gorgeous calendar invite titles for many years to come. And for everyone listening, I hope you're all happy, healthy, and hydrated. And as always, leave your comments, questions, thoughts, and concerns for me at askanassistant.com. And until next week, take care.